A girl sprints frantically through a dark, gloomy alley under a red sky. A masked man with a blade chases her from behind, urging her not to run. He shadows the young woman, whispering for her to be good, before his wicked eyes lock on and he lunges with his sharp blade ready to hurt her. Suddenly, a mysterious young man steps in front of the girl to shield her from harm. The blade hits the young man in the chest, sending him stumbling backward from the blow. Realizing he'd been tricked, the assailant turned furious at the boy for getting involved. Despite the pain, the hero stands tall before the villain, gripping the blade tight and showing no fear at all. The young man watches his red liquid drip onto the ground, slowly turning into a small puddle. Suddenly, a spark of energy strikes his mind, sending ripples through his thoughts. Suddenly, his eyes snap open, flashing with a brilliant blue hue that pulses with raw power. After waking up from his nightmare to find it playing out on the news, the protagonist brushes his teeth and discovers that the killer he feared was actually a monster who had already hurt many innocent young women. As the scene shifts to a building where someone talks about graduation trips, our hero rushes into a hotel hoping for one last night of fun before adulthood, only to follow a map to a cafe named Tamahira that has already closed, yet he insists on going anyway as a training exercise, and as the owner says goodbye, wishing her energetic son had that same spark, she notices the strange-looking boy standing nearby. His name is Atsunomiya Kaido, a hero who clearly hates baths, gets scolded for his strange habits and job, only to have a suitcase crash through the window, dump underwear on him, get yelled at by his mom to get a real job, pick up his stuff, and walk away while our hero watches it all happen. Later, we see a picture of him with a strange smile, then heavy rain falls while a battered Ko tries to escape our hero, who chases him down, throws him into the water with a painful splash, and holds him by the hair while ignoring his desperate cries for help until the photographer steps in and demands he let go. The hooded young man drops the guy on the ground with a cold look, then stomps on Ko's head to keep him down, before spotting a girl's photo inside the cafe. He kept photos of the young girl on his computer, grinned creepily while peeking through her bedroom door, and watched as others online shared and commented on those disturbing pictures. It looks like Ko runs the chat room and sold special access codes to pay members. With a greedy grin, he realized his photos had earned him 600,000 yen. After feeling like a winner, the photographer kneels as the hero accuses him of killing the girl, leading the hero to inject him in the neck while the girl's angry ghost appears with lightning around her to give the hero a shiny object as payment. The young man takes the money and cradles the object gently in his hands. The young man stands serious and watches the rain fall while the photographer behind him screams for his life. The hero looks troubled by the loud noises and pulls his hands over his ears to stop listening. After it all, the young man turns and walks away from the cafe into the heavy rain, but seeing the sky darken and the storm worsen, he decides to turn back. He stands at the bus stop, watching the bus approach with its bright headlights cutting through the dark. A bus pulls up and a young man steps inside, but a terrified passenger is flung out and crashes into him before sprinting away, screaming that the door opened on its own. The young man ignores the stranger's strange behavior and climbs into the empty, mysterious vehicle, only to find no driver and a chilling robotic voice demanding that everyone sit down as the bus lurches forward by itself, its eerie message repeating over and over to build mounting tension. The young man finds the warnings very strange and starts to wonder what's going on. He glanced around at the other passengers and couldn't understand why nobody seemed worried at all. A tough bald man tells him to sit as a booming voice speaks, and suddenly a bright blue electric shock shoots up from the bus floor, leaving the protagonist shocked and confused. He suddenly understands that this is the price he pays for not listening to the rules. Another person starts getting shocked and hits the floor, realizing this isn't a dream but a real rule, so the bald man explains that he's trapped on a bus to hell and lays down the law. The big guy grabs him by the collar and demands total obedience, and the terrified young man agrees to do anything to avoid pain, pretending to ask what's going on while the man reveals they are riding between the real world and a dangerous spirit dimension where they must fight monsters at every stop, and everyone on board is there because they are running away from a terrible sin. The young man insists he's just a college student, but the bald man doesn't believe him. Other passengers warn him not to trust anyone, and a couple of troublemakers laugh and bet that he won't even get past the first round. Our hero stands there with a grave expression, listening hard to what they are saying. He believes he's only ever faced criminals who deserve punishment, but a terrified man screams that the next stop is here and the monsters are coming, just as the system announces Moon Lake and tells everyone to get ready. Suddenly, the bald man throws a hard punch right into another passenger's face. The big guy orders the fallen man to be quiet so he can be used as bait, while the tattooed woman grabs someone else and warns that anyone who breaks the rules will also become bait. The young man sets a firm look on his face, knowing he must seem like he can help to stay alive. The girl warns him to get off, or he'll end up as food for a monster. With cold sweat pouring down, the hero shakily steps up to the bus door only to freeze as he sees a shadow with sharp claws pressing against the glass. The young man leaps back, screaming that he saw a ghost, while the others grin wickedly as the bald man warns that this is just the start of the journey. As the group steps into the dark, the young woman grabs the protagonist's arm and mocks him for being scared, only to get annoyed when he defends himself, so she suddenly kicks him hard in the stomach, and he feels the heavy blow land right where it hurts. He lies on the ground, apologizing as the angry young woman stares him down, only to be shocked when he claims he felt no pain and insists he follow her. The young woman tells him that if he stays behind, he'll be finished, while the bald man and his friend plan to use the tied-up man as bait for the monsters. The hanging man is badly hurt and looks like he's out cold right now. With nothing left to lose, the man pleads with them to set him free before he meets his end there. He shouts that he's rich and can pay them anything, but the big man says money means nothing there while an old couple watches, and holding a blade, the hero wonders if he should try to save him. Suddenly, a loud noise rang out across the warehouse, and everyone jumped into action. The leader yells that the monsters are here, sending the old couple into panic as he tosses explosive packs to everyone for defense, while a confused young man wonders why the bald man had so many just as a horde of red-eyed shadow creatures appears and one leaps toward the suspended man to eat the bait. The monster shows the man a terrifying woman's face that makes him run in fear, then stares at him with pure hate and says it has been waiting just for him. She screams that he destroyed everything and will never forgive him, then his claws reach for his face as he cries out in pain, and as his body hangs limp with dark liquid dripping from it, the phantom holds his face while dark energy flows through it, flashing a scary smile with sharp teeth and red eyes before showing sadness, while in his last moments the man yells that he didn't kill them, but the phantom accuses him of draining their lifeblood, and when he says he only took their money, she reveals he stole her husband's compensation, which to her ghost was the same as taking their lives, so she claws at him with a vengeful look, vowing to drain everything from him, until other ghosts appear behind her and he panics realizing he drained them too, as the creature cries, remembering all the suffering she endured. In a memory, we see the man driving his car fast down the road, ignoring everyone who is begging for their money back. The man gave a cruel glare, showing he had no intention of giving in to their wishes. He didn't even hesitate before slamming the gas pedal and driving straight at the crowd. The car rushes straight toward a crowd of protesters shouting for justice, where a desperate woman holds up a doctor's note begging for help for her burned husband, only to have the driver ignore her pleas and swerve, throwing her to the ground and scattering her papers everywhere. While some rush forward to help her, the driver speeds away without even glancing back. We see the woman lying on the street as the car drives off into the distance without stopping to help. Standing on the street, she gets a call that her husband took too much medicine, and in shock she learns he is gone. So she falls to her knees crying and blaming him for her pain before deciding to end her own suffering, while back in the present the ghosts attack the suspended man and the protagonist realizes he was indeed a sinner. The angry bald man yells at the young man, but soon everyone starts tossing explosives at the monsters, and after a huge boom throws everyone flying, the hero stands up to face a glowing-eyed beast and swiftly cuts it in half, shocking the group until they realize they must hurry to find the missing couple before they run out of supplies. The impatient leader yells for the others to stop slacking and start the search, so the four of them head out together, while the big guy climbs a wall to get a better view and suddenly, a strange noise catches the young man's attention. After hearing the noise and warning everyone that more monsters are coming, the group searches through a plantation where a bald man grows irritated, while the hero finds it too peaceful but the blonde girl warns him not to let his guard down, until they spot an old man with a huge axe who explains that the missing couple visited earlier for food and were attacked by an animal, leading the team to follow him along a stone path to his house where the couple greets them with a smile despite the strange world's unsettling normality, only to be interrupted by a crazy neighbor who runs away after staring at the girl, before the host serves warm bread that everyone eats happily as a fat man rushes in to join the feast. Everyone begins grabbing a bite to taste the feast that's been put out. After eating heartily and hearing about the dangers of wolves and roaring beasts, the elderly couple urges the group to spend the night there, but the hero decides to stay anyway since they don't have enough ammunition to fight off the threats. In one room, a hero snores on the bottom bunk while his friend sleeps above, and in the next, a rowdy couple wakes up screaming from a shadow in the window, only for the blonde guy to run outside and angrily chase the homeowner's son, who was just holding a rake. Even as he takes the hits, the man keeps praising the girl's beauty, which makes the angry blonde guy even more furious, until the father steps in to ask them to calm down and talk things over in the living room, where the host demands the blonde guy sit and sort it out before bluntly offering a huge sum of money to buy his girlfriend, shocking the couple and making the blonde guy rage at the audacity of the old man, who then reveals his own dark secret by blackmailing him, claiming he is also Being hunted. With a furious roar, the blonde man smashes a glass on the floor, and just as he turns to attack the old man, a dark figure steps out and hits him hard on the head, knocking him down while his son keeps striking him and screaming, all while the elderly couple quietly talk about the girl's payment, and his son creeps into the room to watch the sleeping girl with a strange look. With a creepy smile, the young man creeps up to the bed to do something to her. The girl wakes up screaming from the noise, terrified to see a man on top of her, and the next morning the host panics as he realizes something is terribly wrong. He screams that the tattooed couple and the blonde guy have vanished, but the bald man doesn't believe them, while the hero grows suspicious because he knows the bus wouldn't leave, and soon a panicked resident runs in claiming things are bad, leaving only scraps of clothes behind that the bald man uses to trick the group into thinking wild animals attack them, all while secretly warning the hero that the village residents are the real danger and that the old couple is on their side, which leads the hero to fake fear and demand to stay while the bald man throws him to the ground to stage a fake fight and convince the others they are trapped in the village. The older couple helps the shy young man up, tells him the world outside is dangerous, invites him to a feast to care for him, and later jokes about his youth while he pretends to get drunk at dinner. As the clock strikes midnight, the young man gets ready to make his move. Lying in bed, he opens his eyes and gets up, determined to find the truth, so with his glowing eyes and a flashlight in hand, he steps out into the dark to investigate the mysterious village and hunt for clues about the couple. He discovers a wooden trapdoor, forces it open with a crowbar despite a strange energy, and finds the missing girl tied up in the dark cellar. After she reveals she was sold to the owner's crazy son and he notices the missing boyfriend, the host suddenly appears, prompting him to grab the girl and feign harm to deceive the old man, who warns him of the girl's temper before leaving them alone once he is satisfied. The girl says sorry and thanks him for getting her out of that trouble. Then the picture shifts to show the village waking up under the morning sun. He explains that the only way out is to wait for the residents to come at night, because their strong bond means they will fiercely protect each other from strangers, and any suspicious move during the day could turn them all against the outsiders. Since the group is in an unknown place with their leader picking up the others and her boyfriend already gone, the desperate girl grabs him to ask about him, only to learn that the residents tried to buy her and took drastic measures, which shocks her until she rips her own clothes to fake an attack and trick the residents. The main character asks her how to make it look real, and she says they must stage it perfectly before lying down on the cellar floor to get into position, while the host admires the young man's boldness and the main character smiles back. But as they walk through the village, the young man spots a resident watching him from behind barred windows where a trapped woman screams that she is sane before two others bang on the bars to silence her, causing her to cower in fear and beg to stop until she finally gives up and agrees to obey any command, after which another resident asks if the quiet young man is the new adopted son, prompting the main character to hide his anger with a fake smile even as he clenches his fist and fights the urge to destroy them all right there. As night settles in, the old couple calls out that dinner is ready for everyone. The young man smiles, picks up the bowl, and leads the way while the elderly couple follows right behind him. He quietly slips a strange liquid into the food to poison the residents. The young man brings dinner to the table, then offers to carry some food for the other two. The old couple ate the meat without a second thought and enjoyed their feast. Suddenly, the young couple feels sharp stomach pains and dizziness, so they run hand in hand to meet the leader, who reveals he poisoned the food to help them escape, but as they flee through the dark village, a man with glowing eyes tries to stop them, only to be knocked down by the hero who kicks him away while urging the girl to keep running, just as the villagers wake up with farm tools and surround the pair, causing the hero to realize these once kind neighbors are now enemies, and after the girl trips and cries in pain begging not to be left behind, the villagers split up to find her while the fugitive couple hides in a dark alley to wait them out. The hero wonders if they've left, but the girl tells him to wait, only for a sudden surprise when a resin appears with a pickaxe in her hand, causing her to scream and alert others that she found the two hidden fugitives. The young man uses a hairpin to skillfully pick the lock on the cell. As the girl steps into the cell, a terrible stench hits her, and she sees a terrified woman cowering in the corner who begs the young man for a lighter to make one last wish before he and the girl walk away, leaving the woman alone to cry and prepare for what she must do. Deep in the woods, the fleeing couple finally spots the bald man waiting for them. The group's leader pulls out a weapon and gets ready to stand against the residents. A resident spots them and yells for everyone to grab the girl, so the bald man gives her the gun, tells the young man to hide, and she immediately shoots at the residents to make a way out, which scares them into running away and making them promise not to chase them, after which the bald man checks that the plan worked and the young man confirms the old couple is gone while the girl says the boyfriend deserved it and can stay there forever, making the angry residents vow revenge on her. Audacity before they realize the cell door is open and the prisoner has escaped. Suddenly, a fire erupts in one house and spreads fast, driving the desperate villagers to fight it before their whole village burns. While surrounded by the flames, one man begs people to stay away and the imprisoned woman smiles with revenge as she watches the elderly couple, who ate poisoned food, suffer in pain on the floor, causing her to rise and walk into the fire for a final act even as they scream for help, but the flames block their only way out. The fire runs through the house so fast that it burns everything it touches. As the ceiling crashes down on the elderly couple, their screams fill the air before their souls escape the burning building to join the survivors on the bus, only for a screen to reveal their dark secret of trafficking women, leaving the hero to realize people can be scarier than ghosts, while the other passengers mock him as he sees the bald man leading the score, with hidden points now adding to the final tally. They show that the leader controls the points used to trade for supplies. The system also tracks how hurt everyone is, and the bald man has taken a big hit, sitting at level 20. The girl is hurt with 30 points, but the hero is fully healed with 50. The girl taunts him about his low score and says he's stuck with her, so the young man tries to figure out what he should do with his extra points until a plan pops into his head. Suddenly, a choice pops up that lets you touch the real world for 2 whole minutes. He asks if this place is a reflection of our real world, and the bald man confirms it, so the protagonist decides to make a deal and uses his points to buy the option, though the girl thinks the reward is useless while the bald man says no one from outside can help, leading him to specify that he wants to contact Mako Ida's parents as the system connects the call while the others watch with curiosity. Once answered, the hero introduces himself as Mo's friend to build trust, only to learn that Mo disappeared 10 years ago and asks to speak with her, after which the woman holding a lighter remembers the promise she made to herself, flashing back to the fire she caused and its victims, while the young man explains that due to the isolated location, no one survived the blaze. He exposes the dark truth that the village kidnapped students and sold them for very little money. The hero wonders if Mako lit the fire out of revenge, only to reveal with a broken heart that she perished in the blaze she started, leaving behind a final message that she loved them and wished to be their daughter all over again. In a photo, we see a happy Mako celebrating her big academic win with her parents. She was a brilliant scientist who worked in a lab with amazing talent. The woman then falls into despair, realizing she's been tricked and her time has run out. The bus screen starts a countdown to kick off the next part of the game. The hero wonders how long this strange reality will last, only to learn the girl has stripped him of his points, leaving him furious at the unfairness and the system's cold logic while the others show no mercy and the girl scolds him for his anger. A young woman shuts him up while a bald man stops a fight, praising his smart save before warning them to save their energy for the next challenge in the Buzel. The leader buys just enough gear with public points, while the girl feeds him strawberries and teases him like a serious student, which annoys him until she threatens to teach him a lesson. Suddenly, the bus jolts them out of control toward a strange new school called Sika High, where they meet a furious man in a suit who drags them to their classroom and scolds the protagonist for not wearing a uniform. Once seated, the girl opens her textbook to find terrifying red words jumping off the page, leaving her pale and shaking in shock. The scene shifts to the school under a dark sky with a crescent moon hanging above it. The young man claims the face is looking right at her while the girl begs for help, pleading with the hero not to use her as bait and offering to fight instead. She stares with a serious, determined look as she prepares to face her fate, but the bald man tells her to survive on her own, which leaves her feeling completely desperate. She insists she's done nothing wrong, but the young man insists she admit what she did. Desperate, she begs the leader for help, but he says survival is all that matters, so she grabs the bald man's shirt and pleads for understanding while a young man pressures her to tell the truth about why only her notebook had those words, accusing her of her sins as she kneels and screams that it wasn't her fault, leading to a scene where she walks alone across the schoolyard feeling out of place and watched by everyone. She convinces herself she isn't the target because everyone else is at the same school. Just as the dorm lights flicker on, casting a gloomy shadow, a girl politely refuses the others' invitation to join their ghost story circle, claiming she isn't feeling well and needs to rest early. One girl presses the other to hear one last story about a vengeful ghost with knife wounds who haunts the hallway, and so terrified does a listener become that she demands to know who was behind the bullying. The girl on the bed suddenly freezes, terrified to realize they are speaking right about her. Her eyes go wide with fear as she relives the scary memories of that terrible day. In a memory, a girl sits huddled on the floor while a group of girls surround her, mocking and humiliating her with cruel words until she is too scared to move, but when their leader grabs her hair and demands she do something shameful just to be forgiven, she refuses, so they threaten her angrily before she smiles sadly, pulls out a shiny box cutter, and asks what she is about to do, terrifying the victim who then cuts herself while the others watch in shock as their leader asks what is happening. The other girls try to calm her down by telling her they've scared the victim enough. Feeling betrayed by her friend's fear, she kicks everyone out and locks eyes with the victim, but the girls bolt in panic, giving the attacker a chance to grab her with a sharp blade and trap her in the dark hallway while she desperately tries to escape his relentless chase. Suddenly, the attacker lunges forward and slashes at the victim with a sharp box cutter. The girl tries to run but gets grabbed by her hair and slammed down, only for her attacker to hold her tight and threaten to cut her while mocking her with threats about her sick mother and her father's protection, until she shoves the attacker away, causing the blade to slip and cut herself as she fakes being attacked and turns the accusation around, leading to a teacher intervening in their fight in the hallway and taking them both to the principal's office. The sign on the principal's office hints that trouble is coming, and inside, a student insists she is innocent while a teacher keeps questioning her. As the bully grins while the girl weeps in despair, her parents rush in only to face the teacher's cold contempt as she shames them, punishes their daughter with a giant essay, and ignores her pleas for silence before insulting her family and dragging the bully away to punish her, all while the girl's father kicks her out of school for being trouble and the teacher warns her to stay quiet because the bully is important, leaving the victim feeling utterly wronged with a fist clenched in hatred. After her father humiliates her in a car for the school trouble and dismisses her in favor of his mistress's daughter, the girl walks alone through an empty yard where she is viciously attacked in a dark hallway and, unable to defend herself, decides that protecting the family's reputation is more important than her own safety, so she pulls out a bloody box cutter to face her bully who threatens to destroy her life, while the rest of the school continues their normal sunny day and a kind classmate offers her medicine that she sadly refuses. Then, a sharp knock at the classroom door snaps everyone's attention back to the present. When the aggressor and her friends knock on the door and call out, the girl clutches her pen tightly before standing up, leaving the classroom to follow them into a quiet hallway where her classmate begins to worry as she doesn't return and his empty desk starts to tell a story of where she might have gone. The victim walks back to the classroom with a bruised face and messy hair, sits at her desk, and tries to hide her face behind a book. Her classmate asks if the other girls hurt her, so she lies and says it was an accident to keep the peace, but then a pen cap flies off and bonks her on the head, followed by a storm of caps hitting everyone in the room. While she claims she just went to get medicine for a cold, the young man tells her to see the nurse before class lets out, and finally the sun sets over a sky painted with colorful clouds and darkness. The victim walks alone through a dark alley with a sad, bruised face and tired eyes, but her hopeless path is suddenly blocked when a young man with a tiger tattoo grabs her out of nowhere. She screams to stop him, but he ignores her until she slaps him free, only for him to fury-struck throw her against the wall and prepare to attack the defenseless girl, until her classmate steps in, punches him in the face, and bravely stands up to his threats while comforting her afterward. But when the bully reports them to the teacher who then decides to expel the kind classmate based on false accusations and photographic evidence, the girl despairing at the unfair injustice runs away, blaming herself, only for a sudden scream to echo through the school, sending terrified students scrambling down the hallway as they rush to see what happened. Down the dark hallway, the victim hangs limp and lifeless, his eyes wide and empty. As the aggressor and her friends laugh about the incident, one girl screams when she spots the hanging body, freezing the aggressor in horror at the pale, lifeless face that leaves her speechless, while in the present day the girl curls up in fear, blaming everyone for the tragedy and refusing to face the truth until the victim's ghost suddenly appears in her room. With a terrifying face, the ghost stares at her, freezing her in fear until she screams and runs from its sharp claws, only to realize it was a prank when the ghost vanishes, leaving her classmates to laugh at her scare. In a sudden burst of courage, the girl leaps off the building and plummets toward the earth. Frightened, the girl sprints down the dark hallway, trying to calm herself in the bathroom mirror only to see a shadow with red eyes staring back, forcing her to brace for the worst while strange noises and a ghostly hand holding a box cutter freeze her in terror. As the supernatural force throws her to the ground and chases her down the echoing corridor, she hides in a corner trembling until an invisible grip drags her away, only for the prank girls to find her collapsed and transform into monsters that leave her fainting before she wakes up from the nightmare to find real cuts on her hands, triggering a painful memory of her father humiliating her for her looks while accusing her of shame at the school track. He orders her home and threatens her for disobeying, then drags her away from school while the bald man and protagonist spot her screaming at a glass window before a hand pulls her inside the illusionary mansion where her father welcomes them and the hero introduces himself as her classmate. A giant, fancy house stands alone in the land, showing off its rich design. The hero sees the contempt in the man's eyes and realizes he wants a family, so he coldly tells him to live with his own choices before they walk through the garden to plan the next move, where the bald man confirms the target is inside and they decide to strike that night while the young man watches the window for orders, and as night falls and the mansion lights up, the leader sneaks through the garden to enter, only for the young man to lie on the grass complaining, which gets him scolded by the bald man for lacking commitment. The two sneak toward the big house, getting ready to slip inside without making a sound. The bald leader whistles for help, scales the wall with ease, and leaves the young man to watch while he chokes the rebellious girl, shatters a vase to prove his point, and scolds her sister for defending her, leaving the girl to feel like a failure compared to her perfect family. She kneels on the floor, thinking about the life she lived and the hurt her father caused. Her sister rushes to her mother, shaking with fear to tell her about something terrible and begging for help. The stepmother soothes the girl and tells her not to worry about the others, and the protagonist understands why she acts this way before hearing a noise and turning to see his father's body hit the floor as the girl laughs in a terrifying, hateful way to celebrate his death, then runs out of the mansion in a trance while he tries to stop her but she ignores him, so he whistles for the leader to warn him that the girl has lost control, and when the bald man gets up, the young man explains she is sinking into the swamp and screaming for help while the ground gives way because it is a special fluid that requires moving slowly to escape, and remembering a university lecture, the young man finally figures out how to get them out. The two lie down on the ground and crawl slowly to escape the quicksand. After the bald man climbs to safety and urges the young man to crawl to him, they watch as ghostly hands drag the girl into the swamp until she sinks into the dark mud, only for a spectral voice to declare they will now be together. As the world begins to crumble into darkness, the two rush toward the bus while the bald man explains that the collapse started the moment the creature's wish came true. With a fist tightly clenched, the young man sprints toward a bus in the distance, but the ground turns to swamp and he slips right into the mud. After the bald man tosses the young man aside into the growing swamp, the leader warns that selfishness is the only law to survive there, but the young man stands up, draws his blade, and strikes the bald man with a quick move to send him back into the water before leaping across the gap to reach the safety of the bus on the other side. His hand was bleeding from the struggle, but he had survived the challenge. The bald man is stunned to see him alive and can't believe his luck, so the young man smiles with relief and says luck was on his side, and as the bus doors open for the next stage, he jokes that the last part was easy while the bald man reminds him that what really matters is just to survive. The leader tells him that the worth of their supplies will make sense soon enough, once they get past a few more stages. The protagonist stares at his arm and sees the wound heal instantly, amazed by the medicine and realizing how vital those supplies are, so with a determined look he resolves to keep the bald man alive to uncover the truth, while the leader explains that the system keeps people alive just to fill empty spots. The bus jumps forward, its wheels spinning fast on the dark, spooky road. As the young man sees the bald man spot him as a newbie, he worries about their return from the other side and realizes the game masters are smarter than they seem, so he crosses his arms and vows to gather info to stay alive. Soon, 3 new passengers board and the bald man greets them with a dark welcome, asking for their names as they scramble to introduce themselves while one complains about the long walk, only for the bald man to ignore them, tell them to sit in the back, and watch with disdain, until one newbie tries to get off and the leader warns him of a penalty, forcing the man to shout for the driver to get them out. The newbie's eyes went wide with terror as he couldn't figure out what was going on. He glances at the driver's seat and sees that the bus is all alone. Suddenly, a robotic voice shouts that takeoff is here and everyone must sit down. The man slips and nearly hits the floor as the bus jerks, then a blue electric shock blasts him, leaving him screaming in agony as he lies helplessly on the ground begging for aid while the electric currents continue to tear through his body. The protagonist then tells the seats are insulated and admits he should have just sat down. The other 2 newbies felt glad they had listened to the bald man. Struggling to sit down, the man asks the driver what that bus is. The other newbie also despairs and demands an explanation for the bizarre situation, so the bald man decides to explain the rules of the deadly game they were forced into, while the desperate man puts his hands on his head in disbelief as the leader lights a cigarette and reveals that everyone there is a condemned sinner. He warns that beneath every normal face, someone from that place is hiding a dark secret. Gripping his fist tightly, the hero learns that everyone chosen for this journey is guilty, but the new arrivals insist they are good people like doctors and charity workers, only for the system to announce that the next stop has arrived and everyone must get off the bus onto a road surrounded by a dense forest, where the protagonist steps out and notes how strangely quiet the place feels. The group treks deeper into a thick forest where the trees tower over them like giants. The protagonist starts to worry because he has no idea what dangerous creatures might be hiding in that place. They kept walking down the forest path as the sun lit the way ahead. The bright blue sky and strong sun make a scene that looks beautiful but feels strangely wrong. Suddenly, a strange singing voice breaks the silence, prompting the bald man to treat everything like a high-stakes game where staying alert is key, but as thick fog rolls in and the newcomers panic, the leader quickly pulls out a rope to keep everyone from getting lost. The men tied themselves to the rope so they wouldn't get lost in the thick fog. A bald man leads a tied-up group through a foggy forest until a nervous new member trips on a rock, cries out in pain from a deep leg cut, and is immediately healed by the hero's miracle medicine, leaving everyone shocked. After the man is healed, the impatient leader yells for everyone to hurry along the mysterious forest trail, so after a quick meal to rest their energy, the tired newcomers begin to complain about how far they must go until one suddenly screams as an invisible force drags him backward by a white-eyed, branch-like hand, causing him to lie on the ground in terror and claim he saw a ghost, only for his friend to scold him by pointing out that ghosts don't appear in the daylight and noting they recognize the tree because they've been walking in circles all along. A young woman named Haruka invites them to safety, but while the newcomers are relieved and hungry, the three men stay wary and follow her tied hands through the stone village to a feast where only the two leaders refuse to eat. As they leave the newbies behind, a fight breaks out over a dancing woman in red, with one man chasing his rival for the chance to stay forever while the winner is promised to her. Without a second thought, the man grabs a wooden plate off the ground and readies it as a weapon. With a furious look, he raises the plate to strike his fallen rival. The blow knocks the other man unconscious and leaves a pool of red liquid spreading from his head. With a look of pure determination, the hero follows the group leader without asking a single question. As they walk, they spot women scrubbing the ground with cloths and blindfolds, and when the young man asks if they've seen his friend, they don't seem to hear him at all. One of them then says she hasn't seen anyone because she wasn't paying attention. The bald man grows angry at the missing figure and calls him a lovesick fool. Then night falls and the village is lit only by the moon and stars. The group keeps searching for the missing man through the village's dark streets. The protagonist dashes through the village, hunting for any sign that might show where the newcomer has gone. The other two join him and scatter to search different spots, while the leader climbs a roof for a better view, but when that fails and the group reunites wondering where the man went, the tired pair suggests giving up, only for the bald man to call them idiots and the protagonist to remind them the bus won't leave until everyone is gathered, impressing the leader with the young man's sharp thinking and leading the group to change their approach by going back to ask the residents about the woman, even as the bandaged man jokes about his friend and the other claims luck is on their side, causing the protagonist to ask for help from the two happy men, who refuse and shout that they won't do it, leaving the protagonist to look at the leader who just grumbles at the situation. With a tight fist, the man with glasses glares in rage until the impatient bald man grabs him by the collar, forcing him to agree to help before a leader throws him to the ground and yells for him to move, all while his friend rushes to help him up as night falls and a spooky fog rolls over the wooden houses. The man taps on the wooden door with shaking hands to catch the woman's attention. Holding a flower, he beckons Haruka to open the door and peek inside where he finds a woman kneeling with a serious face, instantly falling for her beauty as he steps in to apologize with the gift, only for her to crush it and make it glow red before tucking it into her hair and pulling him in with a seductive smile that leaves him floating on clouds. Outside, the leader sees the young man has forgotten their mission and fallen for the woman, who suddenly turns into a creature and bites his shoulder, only for a new shadow with spikes to attack them while the leader stops his friend from helping, causing a missing man to be thrown out and a giant blue shadow to strike the ground, but the protagonist wipes something from his face, his eyes glow blue, and he runs toward the monster as the young man looks up at the sky in surprise. Suddenly, a crowd of residents with torches surrounds the group, and the bald man holds the hero steady while the blindfolded crowd closes in, prompting the friend to panic until the hero shouts that these aren't people but monsters who want to kill them. The leader hands a bag and a firearm to the friend, who recalls being taught how to use it, so the bald man pulls out dynamite for the hero to throw at the horde. The hero lights the fuse and hurls the explosive into the crowd, causing a massive blast that throws everyone back, but then the friend breaks down, screaming as he sees worms on the ground where the residents once were, and the leader reveals that those creatures were just their lunch, leaving the hero covering his mouth in disgust while a memory flashes of the delicious feast the woman once offered. Then the food turns into a gross mess full of worms and baby bugs. In a sudden twist, the drink turns black and foul, choking the friend as the bald man yells at him to stop bothering them, while the protagonist blasts a path through the monsters, only for a dead one to rise and scream after a dynamite explosion, revealing they are immortal and now all the fallen creatures are getting back up to attack again as everyone shoots non-stop. With their fingers still on the triggers, they keep firing until a strange noise catches their attention. The leader sees there's no ammo left, and the newbie panics, so the big guy grabs him by the shirt and hurls him at the monsters as bait, while the bald man flees and yells at the hero not to stop or he'll get eaten too, but the hero just watches with a cold look, thinking everyone is a criminal and feeling no pity because even harmless people can be bad. So now he and the bald man run through the forest to escape the monster village while the group leader keeps running forward without looking back. He tells the bald leader they must stay in the dark to hide from the creature, but when the leader pours his last drop of healing liquid into the hero's hand to treat a painful scratch, the hero realizes the leader is running out of medicine. Though the leader worries they haven't found the other group yet and the hero fears the leader might attack him over the food, they both suddenly slide down a dark cave slope and land hard on the stone floor, causing the hero to dislocate his arm and then quickly pop it back in place while smiling through the pain and grabbing the fallen blade to defend himself. He reveals his pain makes him stronger and steps forward with a blade to challenge the leader, only to be suddenly hit by a blast of purple energy from the cave. A white, blindfolded beast lunges at the young man with wild rage. His eyes shine with a bright blue light as he gets ready to fight. With a fast and sharp strike, he slices the beast in half with his blade. As the hero watches in shock, the monster shatters into two pieces, only for purple tentacles to burst out and knit the beast back together into a fighting stance. The young man knows he must run if he can't win, but the bald man grabs his leg to stop him from fleeing, and the desperate leader begs him not to leave him behind with the monster. The hero smiles with irony and asks, "Won't you leave our leader here?" The young man grabs the bald leader and drags him away from the horde, leaving the stunned boss in awe of his strength as they sprint through the dark cave with shadowy creatures chasing them every step of the way. As they move along, white rats with glowing red eyes watch them. The bald man trips over a rock and can't stand up, so the hero tosses him toward the monsters as perfect bait to escape, and then he hears a scream that belongs to the missing newbie, prompting them to look down into the cave where the other two men lie near a giant, mysterious egg while the man with glasses panics until the hero shushes him to avoid drawing monsters. Desperate, the man keeps screaming while the hero yells for silence, but the young man gets angry, thinks about the bus rules, and regrets saving such fools as the leader accuses him of testing their supplies. The hero insists they use the rope for a rescue, and as they prepare, the bald man notices the young one has changed completely before the hero throws the rope to the man, who must tie it around his waist to climb up. The man with glasses starts climbing and kicks the other who begs not to be left behind, then mercilessly steps on his companion's hand, telling him to save himself since there is no hope, while the hero asks if anyone else is there and the man with glasses lies, saying he is alone, only for a white creature to suddenly appear from behind to strike him and drag him away as he screams in pain. The creature throws him into the air, startling the protagonist, and as the young man tries to pull him free, the monster holds suddenly, the giant egg shatters to reveal a white phoenix, and to everyone's shock, the smiling woman in red appears alongside monsters that have transformed into terrifying grinning beasts. Without wasting a moment, the hero ties a rope to a rock to prepare for the rescue, but as other phoenixes suddenly appear, he yells for the others to climb up alone while terrified. The man on the rope climbs up as the bald man warns they have no more ammo, leaving the leader and hero to jump down and fight with their blades, yet the bald man is quickly swarmed by birds and shouts for help while the hero faces a creature, dodges its attack with a quick move, slips mid-dodge, and grabs the rope climber's leg, only for the man with glasses to scream that he shouldn't drag him down, calling him ungrateful as the hero insists he must save himself first, forcing the hero to start climbing the cave wall alone with his blade while the other climbs the rope, with the man blaming him for the monsters before the hero tells him to shut up, just as the creatures suddenly ignore both of them and fly toward the back down below. A woman in red is surrounded by fire as birds fly toward her, while other women emerge from the flames for a ritual, and a helpless man on the ground begs her for help only to be met with disgust before she steps on his chest with forceful intent, screaming in pain as she reveals her cold revenge, leading to a memory of winged women and rare morning birds living peacefully in a green forest until humans arrive with machines and chainsaws to destroy their home despite pleas from a professor and students, only to discover with horror that the destruction is part of a secret deal, leaving the birds and the old man's spirit broken as he prepares to document the crime. One of the girls pulls out her phone and begins filming the whole forest get torn apart. After a worker slaps a girl and knocks her phone down, a student punches the man, sparking a fierce fight where the workers brutally beat up the whole group. Later, bruised and defeated, the students sit on a log while a distant couple watches and decides to post the video online, causing the worker's boss to scold him for letting photos be taken, reject his apology, and claim full blame while promising to protect the worker if things go wrong. The boss points the finger at the worker and says it's his turn to fix things. Desperate, the man begs to avoid jail while the boss asks what he needs, promising to protect his children, which shocks the worker into accepting the deal. As police drag him away to take the blame, the boss watches from a height with cold satisfaction, even as the worker later denies the boss's orders to a professor who, upon hearing the rare bird has gone extinct, rips off his oxygen mask and dies, leaving his students to mourn good men losing to villains. The boss then silences the angry students with a dark command while construction workers flee in terror after spotting a body and ghostly hands rising from the ground, only for the real culprit to calmly watch from his office, smile at his evil plan's success with a photo of his new theme park, and laugh at his wealth and power. Just as the boss lies defeated on the ground as the woman reminds him of his crimes while a memory shows the last bird escaping a barrel aimed at it by a man who promised to the businessman didn't even pause before aiming his gun at the final bird, a big grin on his face. As the bird's feathers drift through the air and the word revenge flashes on screen, the woman calls her friends over to celebrate the day's arrival, then grins with black eyes and reveals her terrifying monster shape. Birds swarm the man as he screams for them to stop, but a dark force strikes his chest while the spirit attacks without mercy, leaving the man with glasses hanging from a rope and mistakenly thinking the monster only wants the boss so he'll be safe. The hero scolds him, saying you can't talk to a monster like that, causing the man to slip on the cave wall and nearly fall in fear, but he agrees that you can't negotiate with such a creature and climbs faster, only for the monster to offer him leadership of a new group if he agrees, which the man ignores as he confidently continues his climb. In a flash, the hero zooms past him to scale the wall, only to watch the other man struggle at the top and slip from the edge right before he can climb. Unable to hold on, the protagonist falls back to the cave's bottom, shocking the group leader who wonders where he found the strength to climb, only for the hero to reveal he secretly used his own points to buy medicine while hiding his true power, leading the furious leader to realize he was tricked, prompting the hero to lift and throw him down like prey before dragging him across the floor, while the tired man with glasses finally reaches the cave's top but suddenly freezes at a strange noise behind him. Suddenly, a swarm of white birds attacks him, and while he screams that he didn't finish them off in desperation, the hero drags the bald man away as the group leader charges at the flock to sacrifice himself, only for the protagonist to punch the air and blast the birds away, leaving the bald man begging for mercy before the creatures viciously tear off his arm, flashing back to 3 years earlier when a threatened man on the floor calls them smugglers and begs them to leave before the furious big guy strikes him down without hesitation. Back in the present, we see the bald man's body lying broken on the ground as the woman declares that 2 are already gone, then screams to her fiery birds to hunt down the others and ensure none can escape her revenge. In the forest, the hero and the man with glasses sprint away while the other begs him to stop, but the glasses man keeps chasing the protagonist, shouting that the young man is the new leader until the hero finally hushes him. The hero spots a dark cloud gathering, stops with his 2 friends in a clearing, and watches as a flock of black birds flies toward them, led by a ghostly woman who orders them to kill the humans because she thinks human flesh is perfect for her kind. Terrified, the man with glasses runs frantically through the forest while white birds circle him, and just as the monster woman warns the hero to flee, he pulls out his blade and leaps to attack, only to get scratched on the shoulder after missing his strike. Despite being injured on both sides, the woman laughs and claims this world belongs to her, threatening to wipe out humanity before suddenly falling from the sky herself as the hero fires a hidden weapon, revealing he was always ready for this fight. He fires one last shot to show his new weapon was worth it, then hurls a pack of dynamite at the attacking birds, triggering a massive explosion that sends the 2 men sprinting toward the bus stop while bodies fall behind them, but as flames and shadows surround them, the woman declares she will stop them from escaping no matter what, and though the man with glasses panics that the creatures are closing in, the hero urges him to keep running, promising safety once they reach the bus, and just as the relentless blackbirds bear down on them, the bus suddenly appears offering a glimmer of hope, only for a giant shadow to strike the hero, who quickly deflects the blow and forces the creature back, who then screams that humanity will be wiped out, setting the stage for the hero to face the monster with determination for a final showdown. The monster hisses for the boy to leave as dark tentacles shoot from its hands, but the hero leaps aside just in time, letting the woman hit the ground, so the boy draws his sword and readies himself to strike the fallen beast down. As the hero slices the monster in half, its head cries out from the ground, but the blade comes down anyway, and while a man with glasses gets torn apart by white birds, the hero trades his sword for a new life, rides away alone after his father is lost, and realizes that in this strange world, everyone is guilty. With a serious look, the hero admits that he is just like everyone else. Suddenly, a black shadow rises from the bus floor and wraps around the fallen man, leaving the young man staring in shock and wondering what's going on. The shadow turns into a scary monster, and the man screams that it's a penalty. As the monster attacks, the man chokes on black smoke before being flung high into the air, only for the hero to explain this is punishment for ignoring the system's rules, prompting the man to desperately shout that he's a doctor who saves lives and that this is all crazy, just as a holographic screen suddenly appears before the 2 survivors on the bus. The screen flickers, revealing that only 2 of them remain, with scores of 15 and 80. The man grumbles about his low score, but the hero points out he only flirted and begged, then tries to trade his points for support to become the new leader, which the hero refuses since he doesn't want the points or the job. Worried that things won't be fair, the man checks the damage points and realizes the hero has over 100 due to poison and injuries, prompting the hero to plan for food, medicine, and weapons while the other man is stuck with just vegetables and baseball gear, until a backpack-like pocket dimension appears and the bus stops, making the man celebrate their escape while the hero decides to use him as an experiment and wonders why the old leader never got off at a normal stop. In the pitch-black bus, the man sprints toward the door to get away while the hero watches. Suddenly, a dark hand snatched his shoulder, and the man spun around in pure terror at what he saw.